Nothing would explode. There would be no warning, no alarms, no final message in the sky. One moment, everything would feel normal. Cars would move through traffic. Planes would glide quietly above the clouds. People would scroll their phones. Children would laugh in classrooms. Oceans would rise and fall exactly as they always have. And yet, at that exact moment, the most important object in human history would already be gone. The sun would disappear, not fade, not dim, not collapse slowly. Gone. And the most disturbing part is this: no one on Earth would know. Not yet, because light takes time to travel. For 8 full minutes, sunlight would continue to reach Earth, even though the source no longer exists. Humanity would be living in the past without realizing it. Those 8 minutes would be calm, peaceful, deceptively ordinary. And that is what makes them terrifying. Every sunrise you have ever seen was already old by the time it reached your eyes. The sun is about 93 million miles away. Light from it takes roughly 8 minutes to cross that distance, which means the sun you see is never the sun as it is, only the sun as it was. So if the sun vanished right now, the sky would remain blue. The warmth would linger on your skin. Shadows would still fall on the ground. Life would continue. For 8 minutes, nothing would seem wrong. But something far worse than darkness would already be happening. Most people think the sun's greatest gift is light. It isn't. The sun's true power is gravity. Its gravity holds Earth in orbit. It keeps the planets locked into their paths. It keeps the entire solar system from tearing itself apart. And gravity does not arrive faster than light. If the sun disappears, its gravity disappears at the exact same speed. That means something chilling. 8 minutes before darkness arrives, Earth would already be free. The planet would stop orbiting instantly. Not slowly, not gently, instantly. Earth would continue moving forward at around 67,000 miles per hour. The speed it had while orbiting the sun. Imagine swinging a stone tied to a string. Cut the string. The stone doesn't pause, it flies away. That would be Earth. Still spinning, still alive, but no longer anchored. Drifting into deep space, unaware. Those 8 minutes would be a lie. People would keep talking. Markets would keep trading. Hospitals would keep operating. Satellites would still send signals. Nothing would feel urgent. History has shown us that the most devastating cosmic events do not announce themselves. In 1908, a massive explosion occurred above Siberia. No crater, no warning. Just a sudden force that flattened forests for miles. By the time people understood what had happened, it was already over. The disappearance of the sun would follow the same pattern, except on a planetary scale. Then the 8 minutes would end. At first, it wouldn't feel dramatic. The sunlight would simply stop. Not fade, not dim, stop. The sky would turn black, not night black, but the deep, empty black of space. Stars would appear instantly, even in what used to be daytime. People would look up confused, birds would panic, animals would freeze. Within moments, the temperature would begin to fall, not instantly freezing, but fast enough to feel wrong. Within hours, the planet would be colder than any winter in recorded history. Within days, ice would spread across the surface. But cold would not be the true killer. Something else would begin to fail first. Earth does not store much heat. Most of our warmth comes directly from the sun. Without it, photosynthesis would stop immediately. Plants would begin to die within days. Forests would wither. Crops would fail. Oxygen production would collapse. Food chains would break. Within 1 week, most surface plant life would be dead. Without plants, animals would follow. Without animals, humanity would soon face the same fate. Civilization would collapse long before the planet fully froze. The oceans would resist at first. Water holds heat better than air, but even the oceans depend on sunlight. Ice would spread from the poles. Currents would slow. Marine ecosystems would collapse. Tiny organisms called phytoplankton produce more than half of Earth's oxygen. They need sunlight. Without them, breathable air would begin to disappear. Even deep underwater, life would not be spared. Some might survive briefly. Deep underground facilities, nuclear-powered shelters, artificial lighting, for weeks, maybe months. But survival would not be living. There would be no agriculture, no renewable oxygen, no functioning ecosystems. Humanity would become a species living on borrowed time. Eventually, the machines would fail, and when they did, there would be nothing left to replace them. History offers a chilling reminder. In 1816, volcanic ash blocked sunlight around the world. Temperatures dropped, crops failed, famine spread. It became known as the year without a summer. and the sun was still there. What would happen if it never came back? Darkness would not only destroy the body, it would break the mind. Humans evolved with light. Without it, sleep cycles collapse, hormones fall out of balance, depression deepens, fear spreads. Permanent night would slowly dismantle human sanity. There would be no monsters, no explosions, just silence, stillness, and the knowledge that the light will never return. Earth would not suffer alone. Every planet would drift, orbits would unravel. The solar system would begin to fall apart, all because one star vanished. Everything humanity has ever known, every city, every language, every memory, exists because of a single star. And for 8 minutes, we would not even know it was gone. The question that would haunt the last survivors would not be how they were dying. It would be why. Could the sun really disappear? Could something so massive, so powerful, so ancient, simply vanish? For most of human history, the sun was believed to be eternal. Civilizations worshipped it. Empires aligned their calendars to it. Kings claimed authority through it. To the ancient Egyptians, the sun was Ra, a god who crossed the sky each day to keep chaos away. To the Aztecs, it demanded sacrifice to keep rising. To early Europeans, its absence meant divine punishment. The idea that the sun could ever fail was unthinkable. Even today, it still feels impossible. But the universe does not care what feels impossible. Modern science tells us the sun is about 4-6 billion years old. It has fuel to burn for roughly another 5 billion years. On the surface, that sounds reassuring. But stars do not need to run out of fuel to destroy everything around them. They only need the right trigger. The sun is not just a ball of fire, it is a nuclear engine. Every second, it converts hydrogen into helium through fusion, releasing an unimaginable amount of energy. That energy pushes outward, gravity pulls inward. The balance between those two forces is the only thing keeping the sun stable. If that balance is disturbed, the consequences are immediate. One-way stars die slowly. They expand, they change color, they collapse inward. But there are other deaths. Violent ones. Sudden ones. The kind that leave no time to react. One theoretical threat is something humanity has never witnessed directly. A passing black hole. Black holes are invisible. They emit no light. They do not announce themselves. They move silently through space. If a small black hole passed directly through the sun, it wouldn't swallow it whole like in movies. Something worse would happen. The sun's core would be disrupted. Fusion would stop. The balance would break. The sun would not explode. It would simply turn off. Light gone. Gravity gone. Just like that. The odds are incredibly low. But not zero. And in the universe, not zero is enough. Another possibility comes from within. The sun's core is not perfectly stable. It experiences waves, oscillations, magnetic shifts. Astronomers have already observed massive solar flares capable of disrupting technology on Earth. In 1859, a solar storm known as the Carrington event caused telegraph systems to spark and catch fire. That was from 93 million miles away. Now imagine a disruption deep inside the core, a failure of fusion itself. If fusion stops, even briefly, the sun would collapse inward before it could restart. And in space, collapse is fast. Then there is the most unsettling possibility of all, the one scientists rarely discuss publicly: false vacuum decay. According to some theories, the universe exists in a fragile state, a temporary energy configuration. If a lower energy state forms anywhere, it would expand outward at the speed of light, erasing everything in its path. No warning, no defense. Stars would not explode. They would simply stop existing, and Earth would not know until the light stopped arriving. 8 minutes later. This is why astronomers constantly watch the sky, not just for what they can see, but for what they can't, because the most dangerous cosmic threats are invisible. If the sun vanished, humanity's greatest weakness would be time, or rather, the lack of it. There would be no evacuation, no emergency broadcast, no final plan. Everything humanity depends on is built around the assumption that tomorrow will be bright. Power grids, food systems, navigation, psychology. The sun is not just a star, it is the foundation of every system we rely on. Remove it, and complexity collapses instantly. Even technology would betray us. Satellites rely on solar power. GPS depends on stable orbits. Communication networks assume predictable physics. Without the sun's gravity, satellite paths would slowly distort. Signals would drift. Navigation would fail. Even before the cold killed us, confusion would. And yet, humans would try to fight back. We always do. Some would suggest artificial suns. Fusion reactors scale beyond anything ever built. But fusion on Earth is controlled only because gravity is weak. The sun works because of its mass. Recreating that on a planetary scale would require resources beyond imagination. Others would suggest moving Earth, attaching massive engines, redirecting asteroids, using gravity assists. But Earth weighs nearly 6 sextillion tons. Moving it would take energy greater than humanity has ever produced, and time we would not have. Some would dream of escape, generation ships, underground worlds, frozen arcs. But without a star, space itself becomes hostile. Every ship needs energy. Every ecosystem needs light. Without the sun, the solar system becomes a graveyard. Perhaps the cruelest truth is this: humanity has prepared for almost every disaster except the one that matters most. We plan for wars, pandemics, asteroid impacts. But the sun? We assume it will always be there, because imagining otherwise is unbearable. As the days pass in darkness, the sky would remain filled with stars, brighter than ever. No atmosphere scattering light, no dawn, no dusk, just endless night. People would stare upward, searching for something familiar, a shape, a glow, a promise. But the sun would never rise again. The Earth would continue drifting, not toward anything, not away from anything, just drifting, a frozen world carrying the ruins of cities, a planet full of stories that ended without an ending. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the universe would continue, unchanged, unbothered, because the universe does not notice when life disappears. It only notices mass and motion. And when the sun vanished, Earth became just another object, cold, silent, lost. In the final moments, fear would no longer matter. Curiosity would fade. Only one thought would remain: that everything we ever loved existed because of 8 minutes of light we never questioned. If humanity had one advantage left, it would be this: we would know we are running out of time. And humans are dangerous when they know the clock is ticking. In the first days of darkness, panic would rule the surface. But beneath the ground, behind sealed doors, something else would take shape: plans. Old ideas once dismissed as impossible would be dragged back into the light, even though there was no light left. For decades, scientists dreamed of artificial suns. Not stars in the sky, but stars in machines. Fusion reactors powerful enough to mimic the sun's energy. On Earth, fusion has always been the promise of tomorrow. Clean, limitless, safe. But promise is not the same as readiness. Fusion reactors require constant precision, perfect balance, unbroken systems. In a collapsing world, perfection would be the first thing to die. Even if a reactor could be built large enough, fast enough, strong enough, it would not replace gravity. It would not replace orbit. It would not replace the sun. It would only delay the inevitable. Some would suggest a more desperate idea: moving the Earth, attaching engines to the planet itself, redirecting asteroids to push it, using gravitational slingshots around other stars. The math would exist. The physics would be real, but the energy required would exceed everything humanity had ever produced, combined. It would take millions of years to move a planet, and humanity would have months. Others would look outward instead of inward. If the sun is gone, perhaps another star could replace it. A new home, a new orbit, a second chance. But stars are separated by unimaginable distances. Even at the fastest speeds humanity could achieve, the journey would take tens of thousands of years. Generations, born in darkness, living and dying inside machines, never knowing what sunlight feels like. And even then, there would be no guarantee the destination would welcome them. As the weeks passed, Earth would grow quieter. Cities would fall dark one by one. Power grids would fail. Batteries would drain. Machines would shut down. Human voices would fade. Not all at once, but steadily. Above the frozen surface, the sky would remain unchanged. Stars would burn with perfect indifference. The Milky Way would stretch across the heavens, brighter than it ever appeared before. For the first time in history, every human could see the universe clearly, and for the first time they would understand how small they truly were. In ancient times, people believed the sun was carried across the sky each day by gods. That if the gods were angered, the sun might not return. Eclipses were feared. Darkness was seen as a warning. In some ways, they were closer to the truth than we like to admit. Not because gods control the sun, but because our survival is always dependent on something beyond our control. Deep underground, the last communities would tell stories. Stories of warmth, stories of blue skies, stories of summer afternoons and long sunsets. Children born in darkness would listen in silence. They would not truly understand. Sunlight would sound like a myth, like something exaggerated by memory, like a dream. Eventually, even underground systems would fail. Nuclear fuel would run out, oxygen levels would drop, food would vanish. There would be no final catastrophe, no explosion, no dramatic ending, just quiet. Earth would continue its journey through space, a frozen sphere drifting endlessly. Oceans locked beneath miles of ice, cities entombed in darkness, history preserved perfectly and uselessly. A planet that once sang with life, now silent, and the universe would move on. New stars would form, old ones would die, galaxies would collide. Life might arise somewhere else. It might look up at its own star and believe it is eternal, just like we did. If the sun disappeared today, humanity would not lose because it was weak. It would lose because it forgot something simple. Everything we are, every thought, every breath, every moment of warmth, was borrowed from a single star 93 million miles away, and for 8 minutes, we would not even know it was gone. The sun has risen every day of human history, so far, and that quiet certainty, that assumption, may be the most dangerous illusion of all.